What's that?
I think we ought to all meet for coffee and work it out. Just on my back patio.
Okay, the magic clock says it's 6 o'clock, so I'd like to welcome everybody to the normal April 2019 meeting of the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission. Carla, would you please call roll?
Mark Arnold.
Here.
Whitney Hall.
Here.
Marvin Kusick. Eddie Mack.
Here.
David Mason.
Here.
Cole Ream.
Here.
Don Roberts.
Here.
James Simonek. David Trojan.
Here.
Jonathan Waddell.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Very good. First item on the agenda is to consider and approve the minutes of the regular Metropolitan Area Planning Commission meeting from March. Has everybody had an opportunity to review that? Any questions or comments? Do I have a motion to approve that?
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item 3.1, administration. Hold public hearing on an ordinance amending the Enid Municipal Code 2014, Title 11, Zoning, Chapter 3, Board of Adjustment, Section 11-3-6, Special Exceptions, to add a special exception for telecommunication facilities, providing for repealer savings clause, severability, and codification.
Well, I don't know if there are citizens here or residents here to discuss, but I'll give you a little history. Okay, we have been dealing with cell towers for quite some time, and we've been using the variance process with its 4 factors, and recently we had reason to research the whole area because we had one that looked like, well, it was initially denied, and so we looked at the Federal Telecommunications Act of 1996 and the 20 or so years of case law involved in cell towers. And this ordinance is our attempt to provide a method that will pass scrutiny in federal court if we've got a cell tower that our Board of Adjustment thinks should not be approved. Special exceptions are allowed for under state law. And special exceptions you can craft very specifically. And variances have that statutory variance procedures, and those haven't changed in like 60 years. So they did not have all this federal case law involved. Now, so basically what the situation is the FCC has said, okay, cities, you can still consider cell towers, but you can't rule on them using this criteria, and you can't rule on them using this criteria, and you have to do this. And if you even delay too long in considering what you're going to do, then that violates federal law too. So they've basically said, cities do the work for us, but you have to follow our guidelines. Okay, so then on top of that, we've got brand new, the JLUIS report. And they want us to start, and that's why the cell tower starts with imaginary surfaces and visual obstruction, and they are concerned about cell towers. Now, not as concerned as certain things like the wind turbines, but they are concerned about cell towers, and so we have to factor in. So what I've attempted to do is say, we'll have a hearing for cell towers, and we'll do paragraph 6, and we'll look at all the rules of the Federal Communications Commission and the Federal Aviation Administration on telecommunications facilities. Then we'll use these figures, figure 31 and figure 33, and figure out if there's a problem. And then we factor in more state law and federal law in C and D to come up with the specific findings that should pass muster. So that's what this ordinance is. We have had the base review it. We've had the, I think Mike Cooper has sent it up, extra levels. And I have borrowed from some other cities and tried to use language from the 10th Circuit to get us past our federal circuit court. So this is my best guess on how we could do it and protect our citizens, but also get through and be able to say a particular cell tower isn't in a good spot and have it pass muster in federal court.
Sure.
I guess I'll sit down and let the residents
Okay.
hear.
Is there anybody signed up on this issue?
Yeah.
There's not. Does anybody have any questions or comments? So basically, what we're trying to do is say, hey, we want Air Force's input, as well as the Federal Communications Commission on.
Yes,
where we
it's
put
not that we weren't seeking it. We've been seeking it all along. The difference is that we were putting it through the grinder of variance, and it has different standards than the federal court is going to look at. And our circuit is kind of a contrary circuit. And so another city, I think in Kansas, grafted on, without having it be in the ordinance, they took their variance language and the federal communications standards found in that case law, and they tried to meld them together, but they hadn't put it into an ordinance, and so the 10th Circuit said, well, no, can't do that. You have to have it in your ordinance. So that's why, based on that case, I decided, okay, we've been doing it, it's been working, but one of these days, we're going to get thrown into federal court, and it could be, $100,000 later, and we've been chastened by the federal court.
And by codifying that, this hopefully.
Yes, this will give us our best shot.
Gotcha.
I'm not that optimistic, but this is the best we can do.
Very
It
good.
didn't include sidewalk variances.
No.
Sorry. From an industry standpoint, telecommunications industry, FCC, do we have many complaints? Are we able to fulfill the needs that we have in our community to provide adequate communication as it exists?
I'm sure they would like us to be faster, quicker, and more pleasant for them and have shorter meetings when we're considering this. But I do know that Mr. Cooper did run it through his telecommunication group, and they like the ordinance and think that this is an improvement on the variance procedure. So I think the base is happy, FCC and the telecommunications people are happy.
We're set for 5G here then, right?
Well, that actually is the next ordinance. You are anticipating
Slow your
the
roll.
next ordinance that's on the agenda.
Okay.
Very good. Is there any motions or anything we need to take on this? Does anybody have any recommendations other than what Carol's done?
I've got a question. This is going to be limited just to cell towers, not cell communication,
Okay.
because cell communication, as far as like, you want to put a wind tower up, they're using cell communication.
This is for telecommunication facilities, and I suppose it could be broader than a cell tower, but I don't think that it would go towards the wind turbine. I mean, that sort of thing. And yes, a lot of things have a little tiny bit of telecommunications involved in it, and that, but this is for cell towers.
Right, we're just gonna make sure it's for cell towers, and it's not for, because all of the communication stuff, all your surveillance and everything else you're communicating with, everything else is using cell service now.
This is only the city limits of Enid that we're looking at.
Yes.
That's all, that's always impact.
Well, this is building the structure
Yeah, I
that
think-
all of that's sitting on. It's not,
I think this would be
Yeah.
limited
Just
to
the
towers
towers.
or
Yeah.
repeaters
Limited that.
on buildings or something like that, so I
Yeah.
think. Okay, so I would entertain, I have a motion to approve it as Carol's written it. Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. Okay. Okay, move on to administration 3.2. Hold public hearing on an ordinance amending the Enid Municipal Code 2014, Title 11, Zoning, Chapter 1, Purpose, Interpretation, Definitions, Section 11-1-7, Definitions, to add small wireless facility, amending Chapter 5, A Agricultural General District, Section 11-5-2, Permitted Uses, Chapter 6, Residential Districts, Article E, R-4A, 4-Family Residential District, Section 11-6E-2, Permitted Uses, Chapter 9, SU Special Use District, Section 11-9-2, District Use Regulations to include small wireless facility as a permitted use, providing for repealer, saving clause, severability, and codification, and declaring an emergency.
Commissioners, it's good to be with you this evening. I want to start by giving you a little bit of history on this this particular bill, this ordinance. In late 2017, the Oklahoma legislator started working on a bill for small wireless facilities. As Commissioner Trojan said, that those facilities include the future 5G networks. So if you could imagine, what you will, the big cell towers providing a large umbrella, and these little small cell wireless facilities smaller umbrellas, allowing those big towers to spread the pool and get a little bit faster flow of data. As that faster flow of data moves in, it'll increase your ability to use your data and other things. In 2018, it was passed by the Oklahoma legislature after input from the Oklahoma Municipal League, who spoke with both the legislator and negotiated with the cell tower companies in order to get some of the things they wanted in the bill. Part of that was making sure that these towers couldn't just pop up in historic districts and other things like that. In this case, a lot of the city's objections seem to linger on putting it on their electric poles and telephone poles. We don't have to worry about that as much here because their telephone and electric poles we franchise out. Because of the results of this the Oklahoma Oklahoma Small Wireless Facilities Deployment Act, or the Small Cell Wireless Bill, the city put together a small cell wireless package. These small cell wireless facilities have a requirement of being smaller than 28 cubic feet on the ground and no higher than 50 feet in the air to help provide the cellular service. Part of the bill required that they not be in single home family areas. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background and give you a summary of what this does. This essentially allows for a special use in the described sections in the header for these facilities.
Okay. Any questions, or do we have rather anybody signed up to speak on this?
No, nobody's signed up, sir.
So what you've done is bring that into compliance with state law?
Since the state law would preempt us from doing anything without any language on it, as a charter city, if we put it in our ordinance, we get to control it. And so as part of our police powers, as a city, we have police powers, part of our police powers, zoning codes, things like that. Putting them into our municipal code allows us to dictate those things in our zoning,
Okay.
not in conflict with state law.
Any questions, any comments? I will entertain a motion.
Motion.
I have a motion. Second. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay. That takes us to item number 4, zoning. 4.1, consider a rezoning for property described as Lot 5, Block 2, Lahoma Edition, located at 603 South Cleveland, from C1 Light Commercial District to C3 General Commercial District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow planning commissioners. First slide here is our comprehensive plan, and you can see that it is located within a community center defined by the plan. This next shot is the site being considered for rezoning is outlined in yellow. Currently is zone C1. They're seeking to rezone that C3. My last slide, we always look at, do we have the infrastructure to support the higher rezoning? In this case, we have Cleveland Road there, B Court, we have water, and we have sanitary sewer. All the infrastructure is adequate. Are there any questions staff can answer? We do have somebody signed up for this item.
Okay.
Any questions, though, before I leave?
If nobody has any questions for,
Yes, sir.
What's the nearest school to this area?
That would be Hayes, which is on Hoover. And
How far?
it's on the other side of the,
yeah, if you go south of this site, go to my trail and cross.
Like 3 blocks or?
Oh, I'm going to say about 3/4 of a mile.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was trying to give you
I
detail.
don't need-
Forgive me.
Distance, okay.
Yeah, less than a mile.
Okay.
Yeah.
and it's also on the other side of the big ditch from that, so for what that's worth. Okay, if nobody else has a question for Chris, I guess we'll,
Bruce Skinner has signed up to speak on this item.
sure.
Okay, I would like to hear the rest of those rezonings for Lahoma Courts before I have a question, if I have a question.
I think we can allow
Yeah,
that.
that'd be fine.
Okay, so we have this motion in front of you. I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. 4.2, consider rezoning for property described as Lot 6, Block 2, Lahoma Edition, located at 611 South Cleveland, from R4 Residential Duplex or 2-Family Dwelling District to C3 General Commercial District.
This one is also located in a community center. It's very similar to the one you just approved. It's right south of it. You see it there in the yellow box. It is zoned R4, where this property is owned by the city of Enid. We are seeking to rezone that to C3. The last slide, it shows the road structure, water, and sewer. It's recommended for approval. Are there any questions?
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 4.3, consider rezoning for property described as Block 10, Lahoma Edition, located at 2201 West Owen K. Garrett Road, from Special Use District to C3 General Commercial District.
This property is located in the same community center in the Lahoma Courts. It is identified there in the yellow box. It is currently owned by the city of Enid. It is zoned special use, and the city is seeking to rezone that to C3. We look to make sure that we have access to a road. We do. We have adequate water and sewer. It's recommended for approval. Are there any questions of staff?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So you also, when you review these, you got adequate fire and,
In terms of fire
well,
hydrant?
what they're gonna, yeah, I mean, when they develop that, or is that in
Yeah.
a new development plan?
What we want to make sure at this level is that we have adequate fire to the property. Where actually the fire hydrants will occur will be based on what's developed and how close it needs to be to that building. So the short answer is yes. But I can't tell you at this level, because we haven't seen a development plan, where that fire hydrant will be. Good question.
Chris, do we have anybody signed up to speak on?
Yes, we do. The same lady, Ruth Skinner, asked to speak on all of these if she wanted to.
Okay.
Your turn.
This, but after
Would
seeing...
you please state your name and?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no
Bruce
problem.
Skinner, 802 South Hayes,
you.
Pembroke Square.
Thank you.
We, several of us, are abutted to the east of that property, which is Pembroke Square, Wilshire, and those areas right there. Okay. Number one, when he says access, are we going to have access to our backyards from there? Because we have pretty much none now except for crossing the city property. Like if we need to get mowers or anybody in there, we need to have access to that. And also, we are really concerned about the drainage, and I know that may be a little bit further down in the planning process. But as some of you know, we asked for a detention pond to be put in that southwest corner or the southeast corner because of the water drainage is so bad there. And even now, after it has that drainage issue, we still have water that's just like a waterfall that goes down that hill and into the parking lot of the apartments and out to Indian Drive. So I don't know what the plan is on the drainage for that area. But as far as the representatives of Pembroke Square that are here, that's a real concern for us, is to make sure that we have no water into our residence. And it's been that far from my back door because there is no drainage. I mean, I don't think there's even a pipe back there except for the little detention pond that they put in. And I have to say the city did come out and look at it, and at least I don't have water coming up this close to my door. But what is this addition and this construction, how is that going to affect us is our question. And I know you don't have that answer tonight.
No, ma'am.
But I think it should be put in the planning process that we are really concerned about that. And we will continue to have a voice, whether it would be me or one of the other residents.
I would say what we're doing here tonight is the very, very preliminary step in this. We have to get the zoning right so we can go to the site plan process. That will address when we get the engineers and the architects involved.
So will
and
we continue to get notices like this as residents when this is all taking place, or is that?
It's a question for, depending on.
This is the notice for rezoning. There is no notice for site plan.
Or any other plan in that area?
I was going to say, I believe there's a planned unit development being worked on for the area. Does that require?
That I did not know.
Does that require notice? I believe it requires coming before this body and
A
this.
PUD does, yes. But I did not know that until just now.
Is that a yes or a no?
Yes, you'll get notice.
Okay, we'll be noticed?
Yes.
Notified so that we can come and look and see and,
Yes.
all right.
And you'll also, there'll also be a replat of the subdivision, which would require some notice as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have item 4.3 available for your consideration. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 4.4, consider rezoning for property described as Lot 1, Block 7, Duthet's 3rd Edition, located at 601 West State Avenue, from Special Use District to CO Commercial Office District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This property is designated as a traditional neighborhood in our comp plan. It is situated right next to the cardiology center that's owned by Bass Hospital. The property currently is owned by Dr. Taylor, and he is seeking rezoning to rezone it from SU to CO.
CO.
And again, we look at, do we have access to the property from a street? Do we have water and sewer? And the answer is yes. It's recommended for approval. Nobody signed up for this particular item.
I have a motion to approve. Second. I have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? There are none. Okay, item 4.5, consider rezoning for property described as Block 1, Lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 13, 14, 15, and 16, Block 2, original town site of City of Enid, Garfield County, Oklahoma, according to the recorded plat thereof, along with a portion of vacated North 9th Street between East Broadway Avenue and East Randolph Avenue, described as beginning at the northwest corner of Block 1, original town site of the City of Enid, then south 320 feet to the southwest corner of Block 1, original town site of the City of Enid, thence west 80 feet to the southeast corner of Lot 16, Block 2, original town site of the city of Enid. Thence 320 feet to the northeast corner of Lot 1, Block 2, original town site of the city of Enid. Thence 80 feet to the point of beginning located in the 800 blocks of East Randolph and East Broadway, from C3 General Commercial District and R7 Residential Multifamily Dwelling District to Special Use District.
Well done.
Why Marvin called it sick today.
This map shows our comprehensive plan, and it has two designations. It's in the corridor along Broadway. Most of you remember that as our Broadway Trail, and we have many neighborhood centers across there as well, and it's also in a redeveloping neighborhood. So this is the picture. Longfellow Junior High is shown there in pink as SU. The school district is seeking SU zoning on all of the areas shown in yellow. And just like the previous rezonings, we make sure we have access to road, water, and sewer, and we do. It's recommended for approval.
What is currently on that property we're going to?
Good question. I'll turn here to my back to you, but right now there's 3 houses right here. Do you see those? The rest of it's vacant.
There was a playground up in the upper right-hand corner of that.
Here?
No, right in there. Is that playground still there?
Jessica, do you know?
Those homes have actually been built already.
Okay.
Just the property hasn't.
So currently they're all vacant.
They're vacant and disappeared.
Okay.
Yeah. They're no longer there. The playground, the playground is being removed and replaced as a part of the
Okay.
Okay.
So the question, Commissioner, is all the property being considered for rezoning is vacant right now?
So we'll have adequate drainage then?
Yeah, we'll address that all in their site plan.
Is there anybody signed up for this?
Jessica, you did sign up to talk on this. Do you want to speak?
Only if there's an issue.
I think you addressed
Anybody
it.
have any questions for
Is this
Jessica?
going to be a soccer field?
Yes, sir. Yes.
It's going to be a soccer field.
Soccer
Lead with that.
We're expanding the playground. Yes. So it'll be a bigger and better playground with really nice grass. Really nice. Any further questions?
Any further questions?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed? There are none. Thank you, Jessica. Okay. 5.1, lot splits. Consider a lot split for Enid Independence Square LLC, which is a tract in the west half of Section 16, Township 22 North, Range 7 west of the Indian Meridian, located in the 1200 block of South Beat Ridge Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The
For the
top of
record, I'd like to indicate that I have a conflict of interest based upon my legal representation of the owners and applicant of these tracts. Refrain from discussion or vote. And should I leave, Carol?
If you don't want your refraining to be a negative vote.
We still have a quorum?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this property is located right here in the bottom of the slide. You can see proposed lot split. This is O&K Geary Road at the top, Wheat Ridge here at the west. Anytime a property has less than 10 acres, we go through a lot split program or review and approval. And when we look at lot splits, like rezoning, we always want to make sure, does the lot have access to a road? It does. It's important that this lot line here would go all the way through, so when we do the approval, this tract no longer has access to a road. That's being taken care of. They're going to add this remnant to this, and it will have access. Does that make sense? So by approving it, this has access, and we have not created a landlocked lot because we're adding it to the tract to the north. Then the other thing we look at is they're going to extend the sanitary sewer to the site and distribute it, and they're going to, from this area, somehow route, they're working with my engineering department, how they're going to get the public water to it. So it does meet all the criteria for a lot split as recommended for approval.
The applicant is actually the one paying for the extension for?
Yes. They are developing a retirement center here.
What is this up in the top left-hand corner, so I have a frame of reference?
Oops, I'm sorry. Let me back up. Right here, right up here?
Yes, sir. What is
That's a residence. I'm not sure what that is right there, but this I know is a residence.
I think that's actually a pond.
It could be. It looks like a pond in the aerial photo, but there may be a house on it. I'm just unfamiliar.
To the right of the picture is Spring Hill Suites, OHP, Wheatland Inn.
Is it an orientation question of where it's at? This lot?
Yeah, I was just trying to get my bearings.
Have I done
I don't drive down Wheat Ridge just to hold it, so.
Gotcha.
Is that resident someone that, like, they were involved in the lot split, so they're,
No, they're not involved in the lot split. They were involved in the rezoning,
okay,
and that happened several years ago.
okay. Were they contacted for this one?
No, there's no statutory requirement for a lot split.
Has anybody signed up to comment on this at all?
No.
Okay.
My last slide is simply the survey, the technical boring picture.
Does anybody have any questions for anybody on this?
How far is the closest fire station?
Whoops, went the wrong way. I don't have a picture of that, but it'd be on Cleveland.
Number 5.
Yes.
Garland, north of Atwoods, north of Randolph. Is that what you said?
Yeah, north.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's
Maybe 3 miles, but no train?
Chestnut.
It's not a whole lot of traffic, so.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
What's the other one?
Yeah, it's probably not.
Probably.
This is probably the western edge of our town.
Certainly. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? There are none opposed. I think we could go retrieve Mr.
I alerted him to the,
Very good.
I'm hoping,
Here he goes.
yes.
It didn't pass.
We're good.
Process.
Very good. 6.1 variances. Consider a request for a sidewalk variance for Lolani Rogers for property located at 2430 North Jackson Street.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is for the sidewalk variance, 2430 North Jackson Street. This is the location. This is North Van Buren Street, the Ale. And the property is located at the southwest corner of Jackson and Ale. And this is a street view of the property right here. These are another views from the street. This is looking west. A couple more views. This is presented here for the variance for the sidewalk. And this is their variance petition.
Mr. Chairman, we do have the owner signed up to speak on this item.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for engineering at all? Okay. Then we shall let Ms. Rogers speak then. So, thank you.
What the picture was showing, okay, so there's my Enid, oh, there's the pictures. There's my Enid Insurance Agency building on the west. And then there's the alley, the gravel alley. And then we're going to have some extra parking for Enid Insurance. Towards the Yale Street, in that corner there, that's where the dumpster sits for the business and always has sat there kind of at an angle so they can back the truck up there. So, you know, it goes, there's the driveway from Enid Insurance. If we had a sidewalk, I mean, it's not going to start till after the dumpster, which is going to be then my one driveway. So then we're going to have a short section of sidewalk to the stop sign. And then as we turn the corner, as you can see, there's another driveway. We have a short section. And then on the bottom of the yellow here on the right, that's going to be a flume for drainage across there. And then that house that's that's to the south of my property, her fence is right in the lane of where a sidewalk would be. So she can't have a sidewalk in front of her house. So, and then east across the street is this trailer, and their parking goes right off of Yale into, so, I mean, the only place the sidewalk would work is just a little section on each side of my property. It's a road to nowhere. You know, if it was able to be connected to something else, I mean, I could get it, but it's not, so it's just gonna be extra expense for me.
Is the storage building going to be for commercial use or public use?
Not public use, no. I've got a bunch of rentals, and so it'll be to store that stuff, store or enclosed.
Commercial business use.
Trailer, yeah, for my rentals, yeah. Yeah.
I don't think this is an area that's been identified as a priority for walking. Well,
I think this is a good upgrade.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve variance.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you. That carries. Okay. 6.2, consider a request for a variance to City of Enid Ordinance 10-6-1, sidewalks required for property located at 5314 West O&K Geary Road.
Thank you. We have another sidewalk variance, 5314 West Garrett Road. This is the location. Looking north, this is the Garland and Garrett Road. This is northwest corner of the intersection. And the variance request for the sidewalk from here, all the yellow area showing. And this is the street view showing the property. Looking northeast from the intersection. This is the drainage ditch right here. And this is another ordinance request for sidewalk variance. And this is the variance petition.
This is a Jiffy Trip, right?
Yes. Is there, okay. Is there anybody signed up to speak about
We have
this?
2 people signed up.
Okay.
First one is Don Rose.
Okay.
Good evening. We are developing that corner property, and when we got our building permit, we have 600 feet of sidewalk along Garriott and 300 foot along Garland. And over the last year or so, we've watched connecting properties to the east of us able to grant variances as they've done their commercial additions. So we are seeing that we don't have a connectivity of the sidewalk along Garriott, and that's one of the sole reasons we're asking for the variance. Also, talked with Bill Walton with ODOT that is not in favor of a crossing at that intersection, which is also shown on that. Signaling and the rest of the infrastructure doesn't warrant a crossing at that location. So for those reasons, that's why I'm in front of you today asking a variance. I will add that since it does pertain a little bit with the we're not against sidewalks, and with the development that we were just talking about at the Lahoma addition, we are working on a PUD on that will require sidewalks, so someone won't even be here to be able to ask you for a variance, because we see value in sidewalks there, and we see connectivity there with the trails and other things. So that's our reasons for a variance.
In your application, you state that there's quite a bit of "at this time" language in here, talking about wanting to do studies, wanting to look at possible crosswalk signaling, something that we've kicked around, but it's not anywhere close to being something that's going to happen in the immediate future. If there was a push to get the businesses down Garriott to group together and put in sidewalks all at once, would that be something you would be?
Sure. I think so. It's about connecting sidewalks. If the sidewalk goes and there's never anything connected to our sidewalk, we could see value in a sidewalk, but if it just goes and stops and it never has any addition to it, then
reference to the ditch and where the proposed sidewalk is drawn.
Right.
How far into the ditch?
Where the ditch, we would be north of the ditch.
Kind of between the bottom of the ditch and your fence row, the old fence row, somewhere in there?
But you guys have done quite a bit of dirt work to that.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's not even really a ditch at this point.
Well, the ditch will still be there.
Okay.
The ditch is our stormwater runoff.
So that'll be retail use along Owen K. Geary as well as fronting Garland.
True.
So where does Garland, where does your property end at Garland? Does it go all the way up
At
to
the,
residential?
goes all the way, no, it stops at ONG.
At ONG does not have a sidewalk.
No.
But then you have a space
And then
that ends up.
you've got the entire ONG property that is at least 800 feet long before it gets to,
Then you have a residential area.
and then you do have,
I don't think there's a sidewalk on the west side of that residential area.
there is no.
Atwoods have a sidewalk on the other side?
I couldn't tell you. I don't believe so.
They've
I
got a
don't-
sidewalk along Gary.
They've got the ditch. There's a ditch.
Right.
There's a big-
Yeah, they've got the ditch.
Would you consider doing sidewalk only on the area that you developed? I know that you've got the rest of that up for sale, and then whoever purchased that, or if you develop that later, that way you wouldn't have 900 feet on that one side.
Well, currently it shows 600 feet right now
600.
in our building permit to do. That's part of what I'm asking variance for. It's not, the other half of that 300 or so is not, since we put an access road along that trips the ordinance for us to put the sidewalk in.
If this variance was granted for now, with the understanding that maybe in the future there will be sidewalks going the length of Gary, would that affect your parking or that utility?
No, we currently would design for that future sidewalk if at some point it could connect.
Would it be a possibility to grant a partial variance, let's say for the Garland Road part or whatever? I mean, is there an option for us there? Sure. Just curious.
You can make that recommendation. Ultimately, it'll be the city commission's decision.
Sure.
This question would be probably Chris and you both. But at that intersection, the stoplight, is it a pedestrian crosswalk?
That is a great question. That's an engineering, Raleigh.
All right, Carol, come with your.
As far as I know, it's not a pedestrian crossing.
I do not know, sir. I don't have an answer for you right now.
ODOT told me it was not, and that was part of the reason they didn't like it.
Okay.
And then the money that it takes to
that makes
upgrade and do this.
I didn't look at the ODOT range plan. Is there any expectation of that intersection being developed or the Garland Road being modified in the near future, to our knowledge?
I think all I can tell you is it's in the ODOT plan. If you go out on their website, at least last time I looked, maybe way out, like 2025, to come and do an overlay through town. So I would think at that time there would be discussions about improving intersections and potentially making ADA intersections out of ones that aren't now.
And are we making any plans, when you go north on Garland, there's that weird jog as you pass the turn lane for Atwoods. Like, do we have any expectations as a city to be modifying Garland anytime soon?
We do. In fact, we're working on design of the intersection of Garland and Randolph now. And I don't know if we're working on some budget items now. I don't know if any of them will end up in the budget. The commission will have a lot to say with that. But I know, Morley, can you remember, is there anything else on Garland in the budget request for next year?
We have a request for utilities and.
Utility, okay.
So we're going to be tearing up that exact same stretch of road really soon?
Where is the utility and right-of-way? Is it from 412 to?
No, it's just in the intersection of Garland and.
Just the intersection, yeah.
But is that expectation eventually to go 4-lane? Is that what we're prepping?
Yes, but that will likely be many, 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 many years away. A good example is looking at the time that it takes to improve Cleveland, from Chestnut to Willow. Eventually, that will all be 4-lane too. In fact, eventually we'll come back and get that last piece. So as Morley pointed out, the right-of-way and utility work, I think in the next budget year, will just be around the Garland-Randolph intersection, but that's a precursor to widening the road from 412 to Randolph.
So in your plans, is it set up for allowing that easement of a potential 4-lane road? Or is it for 2 lanes?
We have certain setbacks we're required to have, and we don't have any plans other than what we have to keep our setbacks and right-of-ways to be.
So that wouldn't kill your parking or ramps?
No.
Well, I think we have one more person signed up.
Alex Williams?
Anything, but I think he got it all, so unless anybody has any questions. I think it was a valid point when we were talking about Garland, whenever they do expand that or widen it. If you look at it, it's so tight along there with the drainage running along the sides, there's never going to be a sidewalk that runs up to Randolph. And then just for that drainage ditch there in front. I went and counted properties this morning, and 2 of the 17 properties going east of us have sidewalks currently. So I wouldn't say we're opposed to a plan like you talked about with, if we came in with all the businesses across there and did something, it would make more sense. But there's just nothing to connect to right now.
Okay. I don't think it would
We're always
be.
concerned about safety, and we laughed about this. Where do you cross, Geary, safely if you're a pedestrian at the new Jiffy Trip, and so mom and dad send someone across the street or in any direction, you're right at the commercial hub. How do people safely cross?
I don't know that.
We're not going to take your answer. Carol said you get in your car and drive, which is not an acceptable answer, but it's safe.
Yeah, I don't think there is a pedestrian crossing there, which I think is probably why ODOT talked about don't cross the road there, or they would rather not encourage that.
So where's the next safe place?
Clearly there's one at Van Buren and 412, which is several miles away. I don't think, I'm not sure.
I'm sitting here thinking about
Cleveland's
walkable
not
city, and
There's not another one.
I don't think Cleveland's developed, Oakwood's not developed.
how did that happen? I mean, it's
I seen kids yesterday cross Oakwood to the mall yesterday.
Well, they may have crossed it, but there probably wasn't a
But there was no
crosswalk.
sidewalk, there was no
Right,
traffic
but
light.
they-
There was nothing to have them safely. Further we move away from things that get people to safely navigate where we direct them to, the more we're going to have that problem. We keep pushing further and further and further away from making this community walkable. That's the determination we're consciously making.
Given the circumstances and what I'm hearing from ODOT and his neighbors, I move to grant.
Well, and I want to say before we move on that motion, this is a brand-new construction. That's what we've been talking about, that they're going to pay for the whole sidewalks whenever they do that. And it is exactly in our target area that we want walkable. So if we give a variance on this one, we might as well just pitch that ordinance out.
You said that on the last 3, though, with Swadley's.
I agree. We continue to do it. And then we try to write a variance for it.
One of their justifications for not doing it is the fact that we pitched it 3 previous times.
Exactly.
So, I mean, at some point, we either, I mean.
It is the nature of it. It's going from trees and grass to a new building. It is new development. Now, I mean, community development has said you could grant a partial variance. So, I mean, I'm happy with whatever anybody wants to
All
make a motion for.
All we would do is create another sidewalk to nowhere. And I mean, at some point, we're going to, and I apologize for making your project the point of contention when it's, because this essentially goes back to are we going to do this or aren't we? And figure out what the mechanism we're going to use. Unfortunately, you're caught in the middle of us in the process of trying to figure out how we can do this in an intelligent fashion. But as it stands right now, if we grant this variance right now, there's no mechanism that we have in place to even get them to bring one back later if we decide, hey, look, we want to do it. It's over.
Yeah, but somewhere it was there, and 3 variances were granted, and now somewhere is nowhere.
I agree. I don't know.
So what's
In
like
this business's instance, there's going to be a lot of traffic in and out. The east and west corridor, I think we should grant the easement. The north and south, I feel like personally there should be a sidewalk.
And I think you're going to see more walking from that neighborhood just north of Atwoods. You know, kids wanting to go grab a bag of chips or.
You want them there.
Yes.
Safely.
That's just my personal
I'll entertain a motion.
I've already given you one.
Okay, I have a motion to grant the variance as it is requested. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second.
I'm surprised.
All those in favor?
I was, the three variances ago,
Aye.
I was in favor of. Now I throw it out. Aye.
Do we need to do hands?
Yes,
Probably should, but for sake of court, let's do hands. All those in favor of granting the variance as it stands?
Thought had one over there too. How did you vote?
Aye.
Aye, that's what I thought. I see 4 hands.
You gotta put your hand up.
I got it.
We got 4.
And the commission still has to roll one way or the other. So this means you need to get a group together and make them do all of it.
And so we have 5, now, all those against granting the variance, please raise your hand.
Okay, got him.
Got him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that motion actually carries, and we'll go before the city council, and they can,
But make us a district and get all of them together.
okay,
We've got to do that.
that's off subject. So we can discuss that further. Let me have a motion to adjourn.
Motion, second.
First and second, all those in favor? Aye. That carries. Thank you.
So that.
Thank you for joining us for the Enid Metropolitan Area Planning Commission meeting. All meetings are broadcast on local cable channel 12 and in high definition channel 112. In addition, this meeting is live streamed on the web at enidtv.org. If you have any questions or comments regarding this broadcast, please visit the City of Enid website at enid.org.